I guess you just have to keep the faith in this moment and just understand that the season, as you said, is not over. The world has not come to an end. The sun did come up on Sunday, and we've lived through a lot of these over the years. I mean, I've been doing this full time since the '90s, and there were a lot of them in the '90s, and maybe not quite as many of them in the 2000s with Jim Tressel, but there were a few, and then obviously on up through the 2010s with Urban, such a great run that he had. But I think you look at it and you say, with Ryan Day, you're in the hunt, and with another coach, is that going to be the case? You would think if you're paying, you have the money to pay players to play this game at the level that Ohio State purports to have the money to be able to pay players to play this game, then you will be in the hunt. But there's a lot more to it than that. There's this game illustrated that it's more than just talent. You've got to be able to do the little things well. And there were so many quirky things that happened in this game. A guy from Oregon got ejected for spitting on Davison Igbinosun for some reason. You had it wasn't an onside kick. It happened with 117 remaining in the first half. Or no, when did it happen? No, it happened after it happened in the second quarter, early second quarter. It was 14-12. Ohio State still had the lead, but Hancock had been penalized for a face mask on the touchdown play to Stewart, a 10-yard touchdown pass. So the kickoff goes to the 50-yard line. Well, I mean, you could onside kick there, but then you're giving the ball at the 40-yard line if you don't recover it. The smart play there is to squib the kick into the field of play where it will not go into the end zone, and they have to pick it up and they have to return it. And the hope is that you will be able to pin them back at the 15-yard line. If you pop it up in the air, they're going to fair catch it, and it'll go to the 25. So I think that you look at it that they tried to get a returnable ball that Ohio State had to pick up and make it hem them in. And instead, they got the bounce of all bounces. It hit off C.J. Hicks, the up back. And again, the Ohio State special teams are, not best in class, and gets recovered, and, so be it. But that didn't help the cause. They got a field goal out of that. So that was only 3 points. Oh, but you lost by one. So, every little play in this game, kind of portended this outcome, and it was didn't turn out good for the Scarlet and Gray or the team in all white. So
imagine if Latham Ransom had taken that 2-pointer back.
Yeah,
on his interception. And even now, college football looking to change the rule on what happened with the 12-man penalty and the time running off the clock. So
they found a loophole, no doubt about it. And Tony, I'm old enough to remember in 1986, Ohio State played Alabama in the kickoff classic, and Ohio State had a guy by the name of Chris Carter. And they're down. I think the final score of the game was 16-10. So they're at Giant Stadium, and they're driving. They're going down the field. They're at the 30. They throw a pass up for Chris Carter, pass interference. 15, 20, 30 seconds left. I don't remember the exact thing, but Alabama decided this guy is not going to beat us. They, grabbed him, held him, deliberately pass interfered to
Hack-a-Shack.
Yeah, but what they were doing, they were dwindling the clock. And eventually the time ran out on one of those pass interference penalties. I think they had 2 or 3 in succession. And finally there was an untimed down, and that's what Alabama was counting on, was finally getting the stop on the untimed down, and that's how they held on to win the game. They bled the clock. What the rule should be is the aggrieved party, either offense or defense, should have the right in the final 2 minutes, final minute, however you want to do it, to have the clock go back to what it was at the start of the play, because you can't foul, in my opinion, to win the game. And that's what Oregon did, in a sense, to help win the game. That runs counter to sportsmanship, fair play, however you want to put it. Just giving the opponent a fair shot to win the game. You ran the clock out by fouling. And those 4 seconds proved to be very critical. Obviously, on the next play, um, I'm not sure what McCord was thinking, but I knew.
Howard.
Oh, McCord. I said
McCord was winning his game. Meanwhile,
Oh God,
he was
yeah, I'm
beating
not
that
sure what Howard was thinking,
great
because
NC State team. Yes,
it felt like they brought a rush or a blitz that got in his face and really kind of screwed up. They said they had 3 receivers around the boundary, like they were trying to get it out there to where they could get out of bounds, but they needed 10 yards because of the pass interference penalty. He got 10 yards. He slid at the 26-yard line, but he slid a second too late. And there's screenshots that he's going into his slide with 1 second left. Boy, oh boy, they reviewed the film at Notre Dame last year on that touchdown for 10 minutes and put a second back on the clock, but somehow miraculously, that didn't get reviewed at Oregon. I don't know, but whatever. Again, we're picking nits, but I think that that would be a great rule if they changed it. It's not sour grapes. Oregon won the game fair and square under the rules, the way the game was played, and just hope for a rematch. Oregon, to me, has got the inside track. Ohio State at this point, if they win out, and I think it's Illinois loses a game, then they're in. So I think since they don't play Illinois, if they win out, and that includes wins over Michigan, Nebraska, Indiana, and the previous win over Iowa, they would have the tiebreaker over everybody that they'd be tied with. And Illinois is just the one that they would need to slip up and lose a second Big Ten game to be free and clear. And they could still win a tiebreaker with Illinois based on records or whatever they're looking at. But I can't imagine Illinois is going to – the way they gave up a 24-point lead to Purdue last week, I can't imagine that Illinois is going to be the team that ends up with 1 loss in this league.
I don't see that loss happening this week either when they host Michigan. For the Michigan fans, I know they're going to be interested in talk about coping here as well. When Oregon went to that 12-man defense, that allowed them to put a safety over top of Jeremiah Smith on the other side of the field. So Jabbar Muhammad could be more aggressive in his defense of Smith and break up the pass that left 6 seconds on the clock. But if you want to go back and look, you'll see that the ball actually hits the ground with 7 seconds on the clock. But who's counting? It's not like this is a game of seconds or not anything. But I saw somebody say, why not just put 15 on the field, 15 defenders? I think at that point, maybe the ref should blow the whistle as just like what's going on. I had somebody ask me, like, why doesn't Ohio State call a timeout there? And then Oregon would be penalized. And I don't know that that's the rule because there's no play happening. So I don't know why Oregon would be flagged. And also when things are happening that quickly, I don't know that there's communication to say, hey, there's 12 men on the field. Like the offense is not necessarily that in tune. But that 12th guy enabled safeties over top of everywhere, which allowed the corners to be more aggressive and ultimately lead to a pass being broken up that would have gained some yards.
Yeah, they got some real soul searching to do over there at the Ohio State College. I think when you're talking about running cornerbacks out there for whatever Oregon ran 60 plays and you don't sub much, this would have been an instance where, if you'd brought Jermaine Matthews along properly, he would have been in there for some of these plays, and maybe he doesn't get toasted like Hancock and Burke did over and over and over and over again.
Big Benosin had a pass interference too.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it was equal opportunity. They've gotten nothing out of Caleb Downs in 6 games. I mean, this guy was supposed to be, the biggest thing in the world, and he hasn't made a game-changing play yet, in my opinion. Obviously they had 5 laughers before they played this one, but this would have been a nice game for him to come out with 10 or 11 tackles and a turnover of some sort. So, you just scratch your head and you wonder if that's because Knowles is playing him 20 yards off the ball or what's going on. But they got to pull their head from their behind over on that defensive side. And they got to get it figured out. There's too much talent, for them to play this poorly on defense. It defies logic and description to me. Uh, the tackling at times, the assignment football on the guy sitting next to me in the press box on that play. It was 3rd and 2 at the 27-yard line, 13 minutes to go in the game. And they had just run James up the middle for no gain. So it was 2nd and 2, James no gain. He said this would be a perfect time for the quarterback to pull it and run. And I'll be damned if that's exactly what happened. And he and I are like hitting one another as the guys are running gleefully down, weaving his way through the defense down the field. Like, I can't believe he just called that. And, he called it. And then, what was it? The defensive end crashed, didn't have contain, poor tackling, poor angles. And, Dylan Gabriel, all 200 pounds of him, ran through the secondary and, looked like Barry freaking Sanders out there. But, what can you do? Those plays, we've seen it before. It happens all the time. So, what can you say? This is the stretch run. You've got 6 games in 6 weeks to show either you are this good or you aren't. And, as our friend Luke Fickle once said, it's a valuation-friendly business. Either you did or you didn't. And, the dids are going to continue to play for the national championships, and the didn'ts, their season's going to be over, mid-December with a playoff loss or, whatever. So, Ohio State's got it all in front of them, and, they've got to be able to pick up the pieces from this, and no shortage of things on both sides of the ball to work on. Ryan Day on his radio show on Monday, I think basically confirmed that Simmons is done, and also said that they're going to pound the fundamentals pretty hard here these 3 days. So, again, no reason not to show up at 3:00 every day.